This is the Active Life Podcast. Welcome to the show, Esther.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
I've been particularly excited to have you because we're all here for some seminar this weekend. So it's just, those are always going to be fun. And your story is one that I've been trying to watch as closely as I can. And I think that there are a lot of people that are going to find a lot of resonance in it. So I thought that we might poke at it a bit.
Sweet.
That's right.
Yep.
So 16 months ago, you were a full-time stay-at-home mother of 4 on a farm.
Yep.
And you were doing some wrestling coaching.
Yep.
Fitness had always been an important part of certainly your adulthood.
Yeah.
And it was the idea of you stepping into it professionally was something that you were flirting with, but you had no idea how you would go about doing that, especially with how busy you were juggling 4 little ones.
Yeah.
And a farm.
Yeah.
What was going on at that time that made you decide, I think that this is a career that you can start taking seriously? Or that you would like to start thinking about how to take seriously?
It had always been something in the back of my mind that I wanted to have my own business of some form. I dabbled in lots of things over the years, trying to
As an employee in other people's businesses or starting your own?
I ran a market, hosting some events a couple times a year.
Okay.
Had done some network marketing. So always trying to be my own boss.
So you had already liked the idea of making your own money, doing your own thing. Mm-hmm. I see.
Yeah. I used to run fermentation workshops.
Okay.
And I would teach.
At your house? At a place?
I've done it a number of places.
Are you talking about beer or kimchi?
No, sauerkraut,
Nice.
kimchi. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, so I would teach people how to do that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. So I always loved the idea of educating people. I really liked that side of it. Fitness had always been a huge part of my life since the time I was in junior high.
I see. That's pretty young.
Yeah. Yeah. Even before that, I started competitively swimming when I was in elementary school.
Okay.
And then my mom made me quit. We moved and I got into wrestling and then I did cross country and track and field and basketball and rugby. And so fitness had always been a big part of my life. And I married a man who loved weightlifting. Mm-hmm. And so the gym was just part of our life. First thing we did as a married couple was go and get a membership at the YMCA. So that had always been a big part of my life, and I liked sharing it with people. So I would talk about it a lot. I had an Instagram account that had very little. Just
chronicling your own
stuff. Yeah, just sharing what I was learning or doing. And
but so I know that before you and Russell decided to start a family, were you an employee in a business? What were you doing at this time? Just the little kind of figure it out your own things that you're talking about?
Yeah, so I had actually never really had a job. When we first got married, I was a secretary.
Okay.
A front desk receptionist.
That suits you perfectly.
At an engineering firm, and it was the worst.
I bet.
I really struggled with it, but we were trying to earn money before we went back to school. When we went back to school together for a little while.
You and Russell?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And it was great because we earned enough. We lived off of it for a few years. I graduated and then 2 months later had our first child. So I actually never really had a formal job.
Did you start staying home then?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the beginning of you deciding, I'm going to focus on being a mom and a wife.
I'd always wanted that. I'd always wanted to have kids.
So that was part of your vision anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love being home with my kids. I love my children. I'm still a full-time stay-at-home mom plus what I've created.
Work. Yeah. I like the way you described that. So you have 4 of these things now. Yeah. Right? You have a 5th one on the way by any chance?
No.
Okay, good.
No, we're done.
So, all right. So now fast forward, the oldest one is how old?
My oldest is 14.
14. So 13 years ago, were you still thinking about how to start some sort of small business for yourself?
So over the years, I'd always had like something. Like,
whether it was the market or the fermentation or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, definitely they were like super small. Like, I remember after I had my daughter, my second, I loved to sew, and I started sewing bonnets. Okay. And I sold a handful of bonnets.
Adult bonnets or
bonnets? Child bonnets. Okay. Yeah.
What do kids use bonnets for?
Like a sun bonnet. So like she would wear it when we were at the pool or outside. Anyways, just it seems so silly now, but yeah, we just
all skills I would like to have, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean that.
So I was always finding like little things, trying to turn like things that I love to do for myself or like little hobbies. Can I monetize this?
Smart. And you did.
I did. I actually went to school for, I have an art degree. I got a Bachelor of Arts in photography. Okay. And did photography as a business for a while as well.
What kind of stuff did you take photos of?
I did some weddings and then just like family portrait photography, which I enjoyed but didn't really
That was
love.
before kids, right? Or after?
Both.
Oh, after. You continue to do that to make some money.
Yeah.
Got it. So, all right. So 12 years ago, 11 years ago, a few years after your first or your second or around, are you starting to think about fitness as a career yet?
No.
Okay. So it doesn't happen until when?
Probably didn't think about fitness being a career, honestly, until like 2020.
Okay, not too long ago.
Like the idea of getting like a certification as like some sort of an instructor, like a group class instructor, had crossed my mind. But I never pulled the trigger on it because I didn't think that was really the right fit. I like to be in the gym lifting weights, not standing at the front of a group trying to
doing some sort of jumping jacks with a kick.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was your vision, or did you have any goals at the time when you started to really look into this, or it was just this natural evolution of thinking about what you could start doing with your time around motherhood? That's how that happened?
Yeah. I'd always liked the idea of maybe getting like a nutrition certification, and had been looking at a couple different programs for that. It's something I had talked about with my husband. He's like, yeah, I think that'd be a really good fit for you.
So the idea of monetizing your own interest in health in general, you were flirting with in that arena.
Yeah. Okay. And I kind of had already done it. Like I had done the fermentationist certification program. Okay. Which was a year-long program. Like it wasn't just like a little thing. I had no idea
there was that much to know.
Yeah. And so I had done a little bit with that in terms of like doing workshops and educating people about gut health. But it was very limited, my scope of influence there. Okay. And so, yeah, it kind of petered out in terms of like I never coached people necessarily with that. I just used it as a way to like educate people. So like mostly stuck with workshops.
I can't wait to tell Peter on staff that we use his name to mean just kind of fizzled out, just lost steam. We'll let him know at seminar today. So it's 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and you're like, this really is a direction that you want to start taking things.
Yeah.
How did that come up for you? How did that become clear? Because you're still full-time mom now.
Yeah.
And you have all four at this point 2 years ago, right? Your youngest is like 4 or 5, right?
My youngest is 4. He'll be 5 in May.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, you have all 4 of your kids, and you're all in on momming.
All in. And in fact, I was full-time homeschooling at the time.
All 4 of them?
Well, I mean, the littlest 2 were...
The younger 2?
No, the oldest 2 mostly, a little bit the third, and then the youngest
2 weren't ready for that.
He was like
right.
1
that makes sense.
or 2.
Okay. So at that point, how does it start to occur to you that maybe you should start thinking about this?
I love podcasts, so I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I had discovered a few different programs through podcasts and had looked into them. I looked up a number of programs, looked at their curriculum, looked at how much they cost. Had found one that sounded really interesting, and even inquired, like, did a discovery call, found out how much it was going to cost. And then just it didn't fully sit.
Why? What was missing about it? You don't need to mention any names. I'm just curious what it didn't have that you wanted.
Interesting. I was talking about this morning with some of the girls, but
I wasn't spying, I promise.
I actually listened to their podcast, and
the podcast of this program, associated with this program, I see.
And felt like I was always being sold on some kind of supplement or something, and I didn't like the way the guy talked.
Okay. What was it about the way he talked? Because I want to avoid doing that.
I actually don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just something about it.
Just something about it. It was like hard to take takeaways from it. And I felt like he was talking over me, like over my head a lot.
Oh, I see.
Like using a lot of like
jargon.
Yeah. And in fact, when I found out about Active Life, it was through a podcast. And
if I recall correctly, was it the Gabrielle Lyon podcast?
Yeah. Yeah. Sean did an interview with Gabrielle Lyons on her podcast. I listened to that one, and it was the first time that I was like, that sounds like something I would want to do. Well,
I also want to Sean's credit, I think that Sean does a very good job of making sure that he's not talking over anyone's head about it. And I think Sean is probably one of the smartest people I've met, and he knows a lot.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he was able to speak in a way that was interesting to you, but relatable and accessible, I think is great. And it sounds like that was at least part of what made you think it would be worth looking into.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So then you get on a discovery call with some loser. And so when we had that call, you were full-fledged in I'm looking for how I can start making a career helping improve the way people move, feel, and perform, yeah? Like you and Russell, you guys were clear that this was something you were serious about looking into and starting if you found the right thing?
Yeah. Like,
or was it still kind of a dream?
I think it was more clear on my end than Russell's. But
was he in the dark about it, or
no?
He just didn't know how serious you were about it?
Yeah.
I see.
Like at the time, I was still like full-time mom, had a 2-year-old, so I was still nursing.
So he was probably like, well, how seriously could you be taking this right now?
Yeah.
I see.
No, I had finished nursing. Anyways.
Listen, but I saw a video of a woman in the UK who nurses her 12-year-old son.
Oh, well, that's weird.
Yeah, it sure is. So anyway, when you said that he was 2 and still nursing, it wasn't weirded out. Yeah.
I forget what you asked me.
I was asking, you were at the point where you were starting to take seriously the prospect of you making a real career out of this.
Yeah, I loved the idea of having my own business, helping people. It sounds maybe a little hokey, but I have always felt like I had a calling to help people.
Mm-hmm. And obviously not changing their tires, but with the way that they think about, adopt healthy habits, talk to themselves, move, eat, these things.
Yeah.
So, all right, one thing leads to the other. Fast forward, you're a student and you start building your own business for the first time.
Yeah.
You had never had a coaching business before.
No.
You had never personal trained anyone before.
No.
Was it scary to go from I have no experience doing this to I'm going all in on drinking out of a fire hose to build a business like this?
Terrifying.
What? Yeah, how? Like, what were the biggest fears there?
That it wouldn't work. That I wouldn't be able to do it. That
Which
I
parts?
would invest all this money and then it would be like wasted because I couldn't earn it back.
I see. So it was about, can I actually make money doing this?
Yeah.
I know I can make money with bonnets and fermentation. can I make money doing this?
Yeah.
Okay. So what were some of you get rolling in the first few months of this thing, first 6 months, whatever it is. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face?
I mean, there were lots of what am I trying to say? The story that was going on in my head. Like I had a lot of imposter syndrome thoughts, just being like, who are you to think that you could pull this off?
That's the part that I think is most helpful, because I imagine that there are a lot of mothers in your position who while nursing their 2-year-old are thinking, what if?
Yeah.
But how could I possibly do that?
Yeah. And quite honestly, I didn't know how. And that was why...
Didn't know how to what?
I didn't know how to do it. I didn't... If I had to figure it all out on my own, I couldn't have done it. Okay. Active Life gave me the blueprint, the accountability, and the steps. I'd done a number of little certification programs over the years, and a lot of programs will tout, oh, we do business training. But it's kind of like, here's like a standard way to run a business without taking into consideration anyone's unique circumstances.
Hey, it's Dr. Sean here, reminding you that if you are a coach who wants to fill the gap neglected by fitness and healthcare, and you want to make a career doing it, we might be able to help you. Head to the show notes. There's a link there. You're going to click that link to download the ALP curriculum. That's the stuff that we teach to coaches over the course of 13 months to turn them into world-class professionals who never have to worry about missing a paycheck again, doing work they love to do. Go ahead and check that out, and I'll see you on the other side. Let's get you back to the show.
An Active Life gave me so much of that support and more.
For your unique circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you saying you will have so much support, you won't even know what to do. And I took that with a grain of salt. I actually was like, okay, well, we'll see. But it was over-delivered to the point where I was really scared coming into Active Life that as someone with no coaching experience, a stay-at-home mom, that I would feel really out of place and that people would think I was, for lack of a better word, that people would think I was stupid or silly, and that I wouldn't feel like I fit. And people would just come out of the woodwork to help me. I would get on a call and people would be they'd message me after and be like, here, do you want help with this? They would give me materials. They would get on calls with me. They would encourage me and just support me and be like, what you're doing is so awesome. Keep going. A lot of support around my unique circumstances.
Why do you think they were so driven to help you in those ways?
I think people saw themselves a little bit. If I was in your position, this is what I would have done. I wish that I had started with Active Life. That's what a lot of coaches said to me. Wow. So I came into it feeling like I was a huge underdog, that I was at a disadvantage having no experience. And a lot of people were reframe that. You're in the best position ever because you're starting with a foundation of Active Life. And I agree. It ended up being, in a sense, a little bit of a superpower because I wasn't making other mistakes. I mean, I've definitely made mistakes, but I had a really solid foundation to build my business on.
Well, if I can share a reflection around why I believe that people were so driven to help you in that way, I believe that part of it was because they saw themselves in you. And I think that that's a very That's a very courteous answer, because there's selfish motivation when you see yourself in someone else to help them. Something that I imagine might be harder for you to accept, but that I see, is I believe that people were inspired because of who you are, irrespective of who they are. And it was a story that they were inspired to support, because you are, frankly, very good at being completely vulnerable and candid around what you're struggling with and who you are in your position. There are not a lot of people who will volunteer. I feel stupid and like I don't know what I'm doing. A lot of people don't have the guts to say that. They say it to themselves silently, and then they go home and they vent it however they are, but they don't say that publicly. And I think that offer makes it very easy for people to sympathize, empathize, and then be drawn to support. Mm-hmm. Do you know the story of the two kids that talked their way into playing basketball with Obama?
No.
To make a long story short, so these two kids decided, we want to play ball with Obama. We know he really likes basketball. So they went to Washington, D.C., and for 3 days, they just talked to people about what they were trying to do to try to get themselves in to playing basketball. They literally tried to talk their way into getting in to play ball with Obama. And the only thing they were doing was proactively and enthusiastically sharing the purpose of what they were trying to do and the struggle they were facing. And in 3 days, they were in the senator's office. They didn't pay anyone. And shortly thereafter, one thing led to another, and there was supposed to be a date where it was probably going to happen. And the day came and Obama no-showed. But shortly thereafter, they were still around, and the story was out around what they were trying to do, and Obama saw it. And he said, "Who are those kids?" And his assistant was like, "Oh, those are two kids who were trying to this, that, or the other thing, but I canceled that because you had this to do instead." And he was like, "Well, why aren't I playing with them?" 20 minutes later, they were playing ball together.
Oh, wow.
And the lesson there is, I believe that when you're authentic and candid and you proactively share your purpose and your struggles, there are going to be people who just decide it's cool enough to want to help with. And I think that that's a large part of what happened with you. Yeah. And I share that because I think it's worth you taking the credit for the ways that I think you're consistently very good at being vulnerable.
I will say that that's something that Active Life has made me really feel very safe in our calls, in those spaces, to be vulnerable.
So, all right, you're 3 months in and you're 6 months in. What are some other challenges besides, who am I to think that I can do this? Because in the first 6 months, you have clients that you're helping and they're getting results that they're happy with.
I took on my first client at about 4 months into the program. And I think those first clients went well. Mm-hmm. Nothing phenomenal.
Okay.
I would say it was about almost a year. Mm-hmm. And so like a couple months before I graduated, where I feel like the ball really started to roll in terms of.
What did that look like? Yeah.
I had a couple new, like I got some new clients. I held a seminar and got a couple new clients. And from that, at this point, I felt like I had a pretty good understanding of how to help people.
So had you finished orthopedic considerations at this point, by a year?
No.
Okay.
No, I had not.
Okay.
Yet. I would do that in the
months thereafter.
Or so.
So what are some of the things that started to come together for you at this point? Was it this combination of, tell me more about that.
I have to really think about it.
When you say the ball got rolling, to me, I imagine there's some confluence of a technical confidence that you're gaining, a change in belief around what you can actually do and that you actually could be this person. Mm-hmm. and an ability to effectively communicate with people in a way that you guys are now speaking the same language. I imagine that there's some cocktail of those things, but I'm curious what else there might be.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time knowing how to articulate it.
That's okay. So a year in, you said you got your first couple of clients, right? And the ball started rolling?
They weren't my first clients.
You've gotten a few more.
Yeah, like I'd been working with my mom. I had worked with a cousin. I'd worked with someone else. I'd had some failed attempts at working with people, just not good fits.
Me too.
Nothing like dramatic.
So there are a lot of there are challenging lessons here.
Yeah.
So you're a year in and you've taken on 5 clients total? 6?
Yeah.
Okay. Some of them were in good fits.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What did that mean?
I'm thinking of one person in particular where it seemed like we were aligned. Like she was a mom who'd struggled with her weight, and I got into a place where she didn't know how to fit fitness into her life and wanted to do better for her children so that she could show up and play with them and move better. So I felt like we were really aligned. I was like, yes, I can help you do this. I can help you create some consistency and get out of this all or nothing relationship that you've had with movement. But over and over, it just kept coming up that losing weight was what she was fixated on. And she wanted that now. She wanted it very quickly. And I quite frankly was like, if that's what you want, I can't help you do that. Because I don't think it's the healthiest choice.
Right.
I want to help you create a lifelong relationship with your body. And she just wanted to lose weight really quick.
Those are very different things.
So, yeah.
Well, I think it takes a lot of maturity and skill for you to have been able to, that's how the relationship ended. I think it's a very professional way to do it.
I gave her a referral and...
That's great.
Yeah.
Any idea how she's doing now?
I don't. Yeah.
I'd be curious to know. So you're 18 months in now to you starting the whole thing, right?
It's actually almost 2 years since I enrolled.
Okay. So you've had some ups and downs.
Yep.
There have been these booms in you seeing a lot of new business come in. There have been some really, really rough patches. And as you continue to move forward, what are the things that you know are true that have you continuing to just take steps and grow the thing? Why are you still doing it?
I know that if I keep showing up, that it will continue, that I will continue to get better as a coach, and that I will be able to help more people.
I'm curious why you know that, because you have, in the first 18 months, you saw this capacity to financially support your family in a way that you were starting to become pleased with compared to what you were doing before.
Yeah.
And also in the last 2 years, you've had patches of time where you started to really question yourself and whether or not you were capable of this and whether or not people believed that you were the person to be doing this. And you faced serious bouts of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
In the face of imposter syndrome, really dry months, where's the conviction coming from? Because this is a point where I think frankly, you are actually at the mark. I don't know if you know this. You are at the mark where 80% of all people that enter the industry leave the industry.
I think I know that. And that's partially why I want to keep going.
Just don't want to be one of those people?
I've been that person already. So all those little things that I've tried over the years, I'd had some initial success, hit a rough point. I'm like, this isn't for me. I don't want to do this anymore.
What's different about this?
This one lights me up. I love what I do. And I've seen that it works. Like I've seen someone go from chronic back pain, 4 out of 10 on a daily basis, to being at like a 0 or a 1 on a regular basis and being able to do more and move through their life. And it's
hard to walk away from that.
Yeah. And then these people turn around and be like, they're talking to their kids about it, and they're like showing their kids what they're learning or what they can do. And now they're buying their own gym equipment for their home so that they can have this be a part of their life in a way that they never even considered before.
So you're positively influencing families, not just the person's back pain.
Yeah. Which I think is the coolest part.
I agree.
I work with mostly moms, and it is cool. Like I have another client who, when she started coming with me to see me, she would bring all of her kids. She's got 5 kids.
Wow.
And
2 of yours are still home.
One of them was home. Yeah. So we'd have like 6 kids running around during a session. But I was all for it because I knew that she needed that to be an option to even get started.
Well, what I think is really cool about what you're describing here is that there are we believe that standards and deciding what your boundaries are really crucial. And I think that you've gotten better at doing that. But it's always up to you to be able to decide, what do you understand about the person's situation and what's acceptable to me? And it sounds like for you, that was a relatable enough position that you understood what it would mean for her to be able to do this and get this from you, and what it would mean for her if she didn't. For you to decide, let's figure out how 6 kids are going to entertain themselves for an hour. And that's been okay for you guys. Yeah.
And the cool thing is like when we initially started, I actually figured out ways to incorporate her kids into the sessions as well.
Like sled pushing her kids, that kind of thing?
Yeah, sled pushing her kids. And sometimes I have like some 1 and 2 pound weights. So sometimes they would like pick those up and copy what their mom was doing. And then over the months of working together, she started to share like experiences of her kids saying things differently. Like like, oh, I want to be strong like mommy. And to me, that was like, that's cool. Like, and I know it was big for her too, because she had struggled with like body image and just feeling like less than. And to see her kids talking like that about like, I want to be strong like mom, I'm going to work out like mom.
How do you argue with how your kids see you?
Yeah. And like something that I'm really passionate about as well is like changing the narrative that for girls in the next generation of like how they relate to their body in terms of like body image. So for her to like be able to talk about her body in a more positive way is already translating to her daughters.
How many daughters does she have?
She has 2, and then she's got a bunch of boys too.
It's a big change.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you see going forward are going to be the most crucial for you to be holding fast to with some of these ups and downs? Because it sounds like you're committed to continuing to move up and forward.
Yeah. I don't plan on giving up.
Why? Like if you didn't do this, you guys would be okay.
Yeah. We'd be okay. We don't rely on my income financially. It will help. We've spent most of our married life living month to month and living off of government loans for
Mhm.
my husband's schooling.
Sure.
So it hasn't been easy. What was the question?
The question was, what are you holding fast to continue to move forward with all of this? Because you don't need it. Like, why is this something that you refuse to let go of?
I know personally for myself that changing the way that I think and talk to myself, having a movement practice in my life
Mm-hmm.
that helps me be able to do the things that I want with like my kids or go hiking, is really been powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I want that for other people.
Mm. How might a mother in a similar position to yours before you started, whether they have equal or greater or lesser experience than you had when you started this whole thing, how might you speak to them if they had some of the same fears and doubts that you had or have had?
It's scary. And I had a ton of imposter syndrome, and I think quite honestly, I didn't have a lot of evidence to believe that it could work. I'd had enough experiences with other things to know that giving up was the only way to fail. And when I decided to do active life, I decided that I was going to go all in. I was going to lean in as much as I could and take action consistently.
What was different about the basis of that decision? Like, because I imagine that there are other people in your position who also don't have evidence yet, and you decided that you were going to create evidence to believe something that you couldn't yet believe.
Yeah.
How did that happen for you?
Well, I have a quote on my mirror in my bathroom.
Okay.
And it says, now I'm going to forget it now that I'm on the spot.
You only put it on your mirror yesterday, so that's fair.
It's only been there for like 3 years.
The gist is okay too.
What is it? It's like shouting affirmations in the mirror. It's an Alex Hormozy quote, but he says something about having a stack of undeniable evidence that I am who I am. And I just started to stack evidence.
Well, you
for
decided,
myself.
right?
Yeah.
You just decided that you were gonna start stacking evidence.
Yeah.
You didn't decide to believe evidence you already had.
Yeah.
Because there was none.
Yeah. I'd had a lot of proof that I could fail.
You actually had evidence to the contrary.
Yes. Yes.
That's powerful.
Yeah, and scary.
Yeah. So, how do you help a mother who's working through a very scary decision that's going to, in terms of time, energy, attention, and money, affect their family in a big way, to start stacking evidence in the direction that she's capable of being and doing and having something that she doesn't right now that's going to help her and her family? How do you help? What are questions that you might ask her, or suggestions that you might have to help her evaluate that?
It can be really overwhelming if you're looking at the end goal and thinking, I have no idea how to get there. The thing is you don't have to have it all figured out. How can you start stacking some evidence in your favor? Like, what's something that you could do today or tomorrow that can help you feel like you are the person who could potentially do this? Like I said, when I joined Active Life, I went all in. Like, I was like, I'm going to follow the blueprint. I'm going to do what people tell me to do. And some of those things were just like really simple. It was like getting on a call and just listening. It was like getting on a call and participating, doing assignments without really knowing how I was going to actually eventually have a client. Because like that was a big scary thing.
Yeah. But it needed to pay you back.
Pardon?
It needed to pay you back. It needed to pay itself back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There were like failure was not an option. I was like, I couldn't invest this kind of money that our family didn't really have and have this not work.
So that's where the all-in came from. If you were going to do it, you were going to do it.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Good. Well, yeah, to me, what I gather from that is that you decided that there was something that you wanted to see in yourself that you were doing for not only the general population that you wanted to serve in a certain way, but also for you, your husband, your 4 kids, your extended family, your friends, that was important enough for you to pursue, that it was worth, once you decided the process would help you, going all in on the process and just believing that you were going to be capable of creating the evidence that you knew you needed to see in yourself. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. And like you spoke to earlier, I was very vulnerable within the community of Active Life when I felt like I was failing.
And that was generally well received.
Yes.
Was the feedback helpful around that?
Was it helpful? Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So it paid off to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
I think that's a big one for people to hear. It's scary.
It is scary. It's very scary to get in front of a bunch of people on a screen that you've never met in person and tell them that you feel like a fraud and that you're not capable of doing the things that you're saying you can do. I mean, a lot of the coaches within Active Life have had careers before joining Active Life, and I didn't.
Yep.
And that, I don't know, it was scary. But I also saw that there was so much potential to help women in a way that I wish I had been helped. I don't know.
There are uncanny similarities between you and other women and mothers who have been on here to do this around this. I want to be the coach that I never had.
Yeah.
I heard it 3 times in the last 36 hours.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And to me, that speaks to a need that you see, and you just decided, I want to be one of the people that helps fill that need, because too few people are doing it.
Yeah. I think a lot of women struggle with like self-limiting thoughts around what they're capable of. And I have found the gym to be one of the most helpful tools in breaking through a lot of those self-limiting beliefs.
It's a good place to stack evidence, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
What else feels important for you to share that you haven't yet?
I think if there is anyone thinking about Active Life as an opportunity, I honestly believe that the only way for this not to help people and for it to work is for people not to go all in.
If they don't do it.
Is if they don't do it.
I would say that's true for any process.
Yeah. If it's scary, lean in.
Yeah.
Like lean in hard, be vulnerable, ask questions. I reached out to people a lot within Active Life, you, Chris, Mary, Tana, like anytime that I felt like I was hitting a wall, I just reached out to someone.
And then you're on the other side.
And asked for help.
Yeah.
Asked questions. Even if I felt like it was a silly question or a stupid question, I just did it anyways.
Well, one thing that I would point out is that one of the things that I consider a criterion for us to believe that someone is capable of being helped is their readiness and their willingness to ask for help when they need it. And so I think that for anyone who's in a position like yours where they really want something and they're going to enlist help to do it, they actually have to be ready to ask for the help, bearing in mind that that's what they're signing up for, and that's a huge part of it. Because if you suffer silently and try to sit in the corner and be quiet and wait for the help to come, it's not going to necessarily happen. But if you ask for it, people will take a lot of steps in your direction if you do.
I think the other thing I would say too is half of the fears that you're fearing are probably not actually going to be an issue.
What do you mean?
We suffer more in imagination than we do in reality, right? And so
yeah.
I had so many imagined problems around, could this work? Could I do this? It sounds silly, but one of the thoughts that I really had to work through, and I think we talked about this when I was considering joining, was I'm going to work with people in my house and my kids are messy. And my house is messy sometimes. We've got 6 humans living in there.
Yeah.
And my gym is
2 humans living in mine right now and it's messy sometimes.
Yeah. and my gym is not separate behind a wall. Like it's open to the rest of my house. And simply the idea that I wasn't going to be able to be a professional in that space, kept literally just, I can't keep the toys in that area, was going to keep me from joining or starting something that I felt really excited about.
Insurmountable.
problem.
Like it felt really big at the time. And then it ended up not being as big and scary as I thought it was. The idea around how am I going to do this when I'm still taking care of a whole family? Sure. My 4-year-old is still at home with about half the time when I'm with clients. And I didn't know how that was going to work at first. But I mean,
so far so good.
So far so good. He's great. Sometimes there's interruptions, but my clients they don't have an issue with it at all.
They're getting what they need.
Yeah, they get what they need. My attention is still on them, and I think in a sense, the fact that my house isn't always perfectly clean, and I'm a human, and they see me as a real person as well, is actually been
you think
good.
It's helpful?
Yeah.
Not weird and clinical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to do a better job of being less less rigid when I'm talking around students. And I think it's been helpful.
Yeah.
I thought that I was going to be perceived as less credible if I didn't have professor vibes. And I don't want to have them. And it's better with a little human leaking through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Esther, I really appreciate you taking the time for this conversation.
Thanks.
It's one that I was looking forward to, and as always, I appreciate you being candid.
Thank you.
Where can people find you? You got a great page. I think it's worth moms like you in particular checking out.
Instagram.
Yep.
Healthy Roots Esther.
Any
all one word.
No punctuation.
Yeah, no punctuation or dash marks.
Healthy Roots Esther. That's ESTHER, right?
Yes.
Awesome. See you next time.
See ya.
Cool.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Active Life podcast. If you did, please head to wherever you listen and leave us that 5-star rating. It really does go a long way. 5 stars goes a long way. Please leave them. If you're interested in working with us as a coach, remember, we help coaches from around the world build fulfilling careers, working with clients they're inspired to help so they never have to worry about being able to pay your bills again. No one's ever going to ask you if you are going to get a real job when you work with Active Life. All you have to do, head into the show notes, click the link that you find there, download our curriculum. That will give you a feel for what it is going to take for you to be successful. A team member of ours will reach out to you to find out if it's a fit for us to work together. Till the next show, turn pro.